Well, welcome to Facilitators of Change Recreate lesson. The objective of this lesson is to apply what you've learned about the facilitators of change to improve your organization and leadership. Specifically, you're going to reflect and identify what you've learned about the facilitators of change and your organization and leadership, and apply those to creating an action plan to improve your organization and leadership. And finally, track your progress in your Recreate journal. So we start with reflections and the reflections worksheet. And the first thing is you're going to want to identify the most important lessons learned from this module. What did you learn about the facilitators of change? What did you learn about your organization and about your leadership? In addition, what questions do you still have about the facilitators of change and your organization as they relate to change and leadership as it relates to leading change? So to complete this reflections worksheet, you're going to want to base that on your reflections about everything you've learned really in the Facilitators of Change module, the key concepts, the application worksheets, the assessments, and identify the key lessons learned or takeaways and the questions that you still have, as well as the sources that you're going to use to try to find answers to your questions. So to complete your own worksheet, you download that from the website as always and identify the key lessons learned from the Facilitators of Change module. And then identify the questions that you still have and the references you're going to use to try to look for answers. Once you've done that, you're ready to identify and develop the action plan. As always, you're going to make your logic explicit and identify the actions that you think will address the opportunities that you identify. And those actions might include everything from leadership behaviors and changes in strategy and policy to reallocation of resources and different decisions and process changes. And then you're going to want to predict the reactions that you're going to get from these changes. What are the individuals in the organization going to see, and what are they going to hear from these changes and these actions, and what are they going to think and feel about that and these changes, and how is that going to affect what they say and do, and what they say and do, or their behavior changes? How's that going to change the results we're getting when it comes to leading change and facilitating change? And what kind of outcomes can we expect? So to develop your action plan, you're going to start with the opportunities and identify and describe the opportunities for improvement when it comes to leading and facilitating change. And then you're going to identify the actions that you think will address those opportunities. And once you've identified the actions, then what are the expected reactions? In other words, again, what are people going to see and hear from these changes that you're going to make and improvements? And what are they going to think and feel about that? And then how's that going to change their behavior and the performance of the organization and the results that you're going to get and the eventual outcomes? So to complete this action plan, you're going to want to step back and take everything in that you've learned in this module, the key concepts, application worksheets, assessments, etc., and develop an action plan with the explicit logic for each opportunity. And to do this yourself, you're going to download this action plan worksheet from the website and then complete that by yourself or with a group. And this is one of those that probably works best with a group if you have one available, because they're going to be involved probably in the actions and implementing the actions that you identify. If you don't have a group, or even if you do have a group, it's unlikely everybody's going to be involved. So you're going to want to take your action plan and present that to your colleagues, boss, subordinates, and get their feedback. And then use that to refine and revise your action plan. Now, again, it's almost always the case that we identify more things in an action plan than we can actually address or do with one action or one project. And it usually takes time, so we have to program these things out. So again, you're going to use a 90-day approach and start by identifying what are the things that you're going to do in the next 90 days that will address those actions that you've identified. So what are the priorities and the things that you can do in the next 90 days? And then working backwards, what are you going to do in the next 30 days to make progress towards the 90-day plan? And also, what are you going to do the next 7 days so that every week you're doing something to work towards the next 30 days, and which will in turn work towards the next 90 days. So to complete this, you're going to take everything that you've learned, but more specifically, you're going to take the action plan and take that and base this on the action plan that you created, and identify the next 90, 30, and 7 days. Now, make sure to stretch yourself, but again, be realistic. Don't stress everybody out, and don't create ethical dilemmas. So to complete your own 90-day plan, download the action plan worksheet and complete it with yourself or with your group. And again, with your group, they will help build in realism to your plan if they're involved. And for those that can't be involved, you're going to want to go present this to them and get their feedback and make changes so that it does become a realistic plan and ready for implementation. So once you've completed the plan, you're ready to make your entries in your Recreate journal. And this is really the last section for this Leading Transformation Lab. But hopefully this journal will continue on because your activities are going to continue on. But for this entry, you're going to identify the opportunities that you're working on based upon the facilitators of change and the actions that you're taking to improve the process of change in your organization, and as well as the results and reactions that you expect when you make those changes. And along the way, I make sure you come back and enter the status and what reactions and results you're actually getting, and use those to identify and keep track of the lessons that you've learned, what's working, what's not working, and why. And that really brings us to the very last module and lesson in the Leading Transformation Lab. It's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed doing these videos and creating these, and I wish you well as you move forward. As we've talked about many times, the journey is one that just keeps continuing. So everything you've learned up to this point, while this might be the last video that you watch in the lab, it's not the last thing you're going to do. And hopefully you're going to go back, watch the videos as many times as you need, get the worksheets and work on them, and just keep working, because this is a journey that never ends. And as long as the world changes, we always have to renew and reinvent our organizations to keep them viable and successful. So I encourage you to keep going and enjoy the journey, because the journey really is all there is. All the best.